Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I cannot believe it's Monday already. I don't know where the last week has gone. That's the thing about summer is it always goes very fast. So go ahead and share this video out for me today. That's what I'm doing right now. Because this is relevant information that I think a lot of people could benefit from today. Today we're going to be talking about talc and asbestos when it comes to beauty care products and makeup. So thanks for joining me. For those that are joining me for the first time, I actually do a video every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. Most Mondays, I would say 95% of them. And you know, it's all different things pertaining to the beauty industry. I've been in the beauty industry, I think this is my 24th year, and I've been talking a lot about the evolution of the industry because we're kind of going through one of the most major shifts I've seen. But I also talk about things that are in the news currently when it comes to the beauty industry. So hi Elaine. So if you're joining me, let me know that you're here and let me know where you're from. I would love to know if you're watching it live or if you're watching the recording. That way I know later on. And also let me know if this is your first time watching me. I will let people join in. And I do put these on YouTube, so if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure to follow me on Facebook because that's where you can view these live. So good morning, everybody. Let's see how many shares we can get today. I think it was last week I got so many shares from you guys, and so I really appreciate that. That's how I can get this information out more. And today's topic, I've been getting a lot of messages sent to me asking questions about it. And so I know that this is one that people really need to be educated more about. So, oh, thank you. Thank you for the shares. I can see them coming through. Hi, Lewis. Good morning. All right, so let's get right into it today. So, talc and asbestos, and I'm going to say aka talcum because talc is actually short for talcum. Talcum powder, there's different terms that are used in the industry for this. So what's prompting today's message is really about the Johnson & Johnson lawsuit that was just announced last week. There's actually been a lot of lawsuits, except for this one was a big one. So it's catching the attention of a lot of people. And I actually did research all day yesterday. So everything that I talk about in this video is just based on research that I found. I'm not, again, you know, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm not a scientist. I'm just, like I said, been in the beauty industry a long time. I'm also a consumer of products. And so when things happen like this, I like to research a little bit more just to understand what's going on exactly. And, you know, if there's things that can be done on our end. Being in the industry, like, this is stuff that people ask me about. And so it's really important to know. Good morning, Stormy. So for those of you that haven't heard, and you probably have because it's been all over the news, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $4.69 billion to 22 women. Now, this was, I saw a lot of different numbers. So it was $550 million in compensation or compensatory money, and then $4.14 billion in punitive damages. So that's where you get the 4.69. I've also seen 4.7 billion. I think they're just rounding it up. And these 22 women and their families, I think some of them actually are deceased, are alleging that they got ovarian cancer from using the Johnson & Johnson's baby powder. And so what's really interesting about this case is there has been thousands of cases going through the courts. A lot of them have either been tossed out or they won, but then Johnson & Johnson actually took them back to court into the appeals court, and some of them were reversed. So the jury on this particular case, they actually sat through weeks of testimony, hearing from all different experts. And, you know, when it comes down to it, the science is really up for debate with a lot of things. Like if you are into natural products, or I mean, there are a lot of things out there where you get a lot of conflicting evidence, I want to say, or when you do a lot of research, there might be not a lot of studies to really go off of. So really where this all started was way back in 1971. There were concerns that surfaced that scientists actually found talc particles embedded in ovarian and cervical tumor tissue. So they were kind of like, okay, we need to figure out if there's a connection between talc or talcum powder and, you know, why is it in these tumors, okay? So they've done a lot of studies actually with those particular cancers, and there are some studies that have shown that there is an elevated risk when using it on your bottom area. Okay, so a lot of people are using baby powder, you know, there because there's a lot of reasons why, obviously, okay? So, like I said, right now there's 9,000 other cases that are going through the courts that are suggesting that Johnson & Johnson baby powder contains asbestos. So I don't know if you recall, but I actually did a video and an article on my blog, leerader.com, about Claire's, and I actually, in the article, I just mentioned Claire's, but it was also Justice that I've done more research on, that they actually, Claire's was being sued because someone found asbestos in the makeup that she bought for her little girl. And so I did a lot of research on asbestos at that time. So if you haven't watched that video or read the article, make sure you go back and do that, because I explain a lot about like what asbestos does to the body and why it's a risk and things like that. So I did go to, actually, let me back up a little bit. So a lot of people are like, well, how can there be asbestos in the talc? Okay. Asbestos and talc are both minerals. So that's when a lot of people say, oh, well, this is all minerals. There are good minerals and there are bad minerals. The problem is in some mines, asbestos and talc are just in the earth in the same areas. So when they're mining it, it's really hard for them to differentiate between the two, and sometimes they're just infused together. So with it, when I did a lot of research at the American Cancer Society, because a lot of people are like, okay, talc is very dangerous to use, it causes cancer, and then other people are like, well, obviously we know that asbestos causes cancer, especially lung cancer when inhaled. So I did some research there, and you know, they've done a lot of studies in the lab, which means they've done them on rats mainly, or mice. And they've also done studies on people. And according to the American Cancer Society, a lot of it has been inconclusive, okay? So they said that it has been suggested that people might get cancer when they use the baby powder on their bottoms, okay? So, you know, whether that's on sanitary napkins, diaphragms, like whatever they're using it for. So they're just pretty much saying like, it's not 100% that this does cause that. However, there is a high concern because there is mixed findings. So what they're recommending is to not use it at all on areas like that, or even on babies. Because what happens when you use baby powder on babies? and it's like called baby powder too. So it's just like they inhale it, right? Because it's powder, it's fine, it's in the air, it's a loose powder. So they're inhaling this. So if it does contain asbestos, which when I get to that part, it's very, very hard to detect because no one can agree on what method to even use to test it. If it gets into your lungs, it will cause lung cancer, or mesothelioma, I think it's called. So that's obviously, I just would not even use baby powder at all. Like it should not even be, it shouldn't even have the word baby on it, you know. So that's kind of where, and they said that because you're using it on an open area, it's getting into your uterus, it can get into your fallopian tubes, and they just really don't know the effects of that. So I say just don't even use it in that area, okay? Or at all. Like I'm not gonna get on that subject. I was gonna get into more baby care products, but we're not gonna talk about that today because I will be here way too long. Okay, so as I said earlier, a lot of times asbestos is mined in the same mines as talc, and so it's really hard to differentiate. Now, you know, a lot of people are like, well, why would they add talc to it? They're not actually asbestos. Why would they add asbestos to it? They're not actually adding asbestos. Like I said, it's a mineral. It's a natural mineral found in the earth. And they didn't realize until, I think, the 70s that asbestos even caused the problems that it does today. And that's why you'll see a lot of, information on lawsuits and things like that. Now, talc is used in a lot of different things. It's used in like ceramics. It's used in plasters. It's used in a lot of, things like that. So it is the softest mineral, and that's why they actually use it in a lot of things, because it dissolves really well. It also is used in makeup or cosmetics because it does a lot of things with the skin as far as keeping things dry on the skin. It's a filler in a lot of makeup. So hence why they use it in a lot of cheaper brands such as Eclairs and Justice, because they can fill in the pigments less, and so it's a lower grade cosmetics. I mean, it's cheap for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Because they're putting like cheap things in it. All right, so I mentioned a little bit that there is a lack of regulation around cosmetic grade talc. So anytime they use it in cosmetics and makeup, they call it like a cosmetic grade. So there are different grades of talc and where they mine it from. All right, the FDA does not regulate this at all. Now, I don't know if you guys remember watching my video or reading my blog about are your beauty products really natural? Okay, because I talked a lot about cosmetics not being regulated as far as if they are natural or what percentage of natural they are, whether or not they're organic. And I'm doing this because a lot of those terms, if you go back and look at that video, is just all marketing and it's not regulated. So a lot of manufacturers can use terms with their cosmetics or their products, and it's just all a marketing ploy to get people to buy it. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. All right, which is why I always really caution people in the terms that they use. I've had people come to me about skincare and they're like, oh, well, this is all natural, or this is 100% organic, or this is, and I'll look at the ingredients and I'm like, but it's not, So you have to be really careful about. And you know what? In their defense, someone told them that, and they're just relaying the information that they learned. And so it's always good to do your own research and understand what certain things mean. And so if you go back and watch that video, you'll know that the FDA does not require the cosmetic manufacturers to have their ingredients reviewed. The only thing that they regulate when it comes to cosmetics is color additives, okay? So beyond that, nothing else is regulated. So with that being said, there are no laws that prohibit talc from containing asbestos, all right? There's absolutely nothing, okay? So now when we talk about asbestos in children's makeup, there are let me just look at my notes here. I got lots of them. There is a proposed bill that they're trying to pass. It was just introduced on February 7th, 2018, and it's really trying to get them to require a warning be put on any makeup marketed to children that hasn't been proven as asbestos-free. So right now, that's the only regulation that I know of. There's probably other things going through. I know that there's been people that have been lobbying just to get maybe the regulations on makeup a little bit better or more defined. So, you know, I think that's the confusion, because like people are so used to like our food being regulated as far as, you know, if something has been said that it's certified organic, that means that it's certified organic. And so when I did that article and I did that talk, the research says that when cosmetic companies say like, well, this is a natural, that most people think that it means it's like 90, I don't know what the exact number was, 90% natural. But they can get away with some of that too, because they're putting these things, which are naturally found in the earth, you know, in their products, or some of it's natural and it's not 100% natural, but just the marketing they use, they can do that because of this. All right, so when I go back to my article, The Dangers Lurking in Your Makeup, that one was all about when they found things, they found counterfeit makeup and they actually tested it and they found feces and things like that in. So that's that article, but then I went into, because when I was doing research, I saw all the lawsuits against Claire's. Now, Claire's actually, I believe they claimed bankruptcy earlier this year because they were found to pay, I don't know what the exact amount was, but millions of dollars to you know, some of the families that did put a lawsuit against them. And that was kind of a crazy thing, because the person that actually had the makeup tested had just been to some kind of a seminar where they were talking about asbestos and talc and this and that. And so she was watching her daughter put this makeup on and she was like, you know what, like I wonder if there's asbestos in this makeup. So she actually took it to a lab and had it tested and they found it. And then they actually went to different stores like across the country and got like different makeup and tested it, and they found asbestos in it, but then Claire's was denying it because they said that the methods they used, you know, and so that's why it had to go to the courts because of that. Now, what I want you guys to keep in mind is it's actually, asbestos has been found in other products such as children's crayons, fingerprint kits. You know, it's not just makeup. So, you know, if you're like, well, I don't let my daughter use makeup or whatever it is, like, it's in other things too, because remember they use it in like, you know, more manufacturer grade things that they're making. So it's scary. To me, it's really scary, especially because, you know, children are, you know, they're children. And so when they're exposed to things, you don't know, you know, down the road, what it's going to, you know, cause. So now there is, like, the products can actually label their products as asbestos free. But what I found interesting about that is, to be asbestos free, according to the government, it can contain up to 1% asbestos. So it doesn't mean, like, if they say it's asbestos free, it doesn't mean that it's totally asbestos free. It just means that it has like less than, you know, well, it can have 1% asbestos in there. So that's crazy. So now there are different tests that, again, people are arguing whether or not they're effective, because sometimes they say that they'll test something and nothing shows up, but they're not really like testing it to the point that they should. And So, I mean, I guess I can see like how this happens, you know, when it comes to having asbestos in the products. So it's crazy. So, you know, what can you do? You know, obviously I would not use talc or talcum powder, you know, anywhere where it can get into your body. I would not use like more of a loose form where you can inhale it, just because you don't know the effects of it. And there are makeup that, you know, there's makeup that doesn't have talc in it. The Custom Blend is a perfect example. It is minerals, but it's actually talc free, which means it's going to be asbestos free. It's also bismuth oxychloride free as well, which is another mineral that, you know, can cause irritation. It causes flashback. You know, there's just things about it that can cause irritation. So, you know, that's kind of my findings on this. And like, I just think it's sad that it's like, you know, it takes this long for things to come out. You know, I just would say no to using like baby powder in general, or, you know, if you are going to like, with the loose minerals, because I can make the Custom Blend in a loose form. I mean, at least if you're inhaling it, you know that there's no talc in there, and you're gonna, now I do have some eyeshadows that contain talc. It's probably a very small amount, and it's loose, and so I'm not, you know, I'm not using it and inhaling it, and, you know, I mean, that's where I think that it gets dangerous. It's hard to find products without it because it is added to the cosmetics for a reason. So, but there are a lot of things that don't have it in there, so I think just being a little bit more conscious of that. If you watch the beginning of this, if you're just tuning in, there's really like no 100% studies found that using talc on your skin or on the outside of your body is an issue. I just wouldn't use it where it can get into your body, such as around your nose and mouth, or around your bottoms, like a lot of people are using it. So I think it's interesting. I'm kind of curious to see what is going to happen with the other lawsuits that are going through the courts. But I always think it's good to have things like this to bring awareness, just so people, you know, aren't using it how they shouldn't. And as far as like baby products, I could probably do a whole entire, and maybe I will, just talk about that, because even some baby products out there that are claiming to be all natural are being proven not to be as natural as you think. So it's really a scary world when it comes to how things are regulated. And there are some people are like, well, I'm glad they're not regulated by the FDA. I'm glad that they're not, you know, getting involved in it, you know, because things can get, you know, not so good when that happens. However, you know, when it comes to things like this, you know, maybe something does need to be done. I mean, what do you guys think should be done when it comes to this? And, you know, doing my research when they were talking about asbestos, it's like, well, of course, there's people lobbying against the regulations because it's going to cost them more money to mine the talc, because they're going to have to do all these extensive studies, and that's going to be more costly for them. And so it seems like it always comes down to money and who really wants to pay for what. And, you know, I don't know. I'm curious to know too if maybe manufacturers will come out more with like proof that they are testing their cosmetics and can actually say that they are 100% asbestos free. That would be nice. But, you know, things are always coming out. We don't always know the effects of it. But when I look at 22 women in just that one lawsuit, you know, and some of them, I mean, they were using it for years and years. And that's the only thing that they could say, that, you know, they all linked it to that. Yeah, we were all using that for years. And so if you're using it, I would stop. Just stop using it. Don't use it anymore. And share this video too, so that other people are aware that that's why. It's not like they're bad and they're putting asbestos in it. It's mined with talc in some cases, not all cases. And mind you, a lot of these mines are in the US, so it's not necessarily makeup coming from different countries, because that's another misconception, I think, too. Now, when we look at makeup coming from different countries, I mean, that's again a whole nother subject. But some of these mines are in the US, and so they're saying it depends where the mines are. It depends, you know, what the situation is there. I could probably do even more research on that as well, but that's probably going to be hard to even determine any of that. I will post a link in my comments, the link to a lot of the asbestos information I got was just at asbestos.com, and they actually list the stores that they found asbestos in the makeup, as far as Claire's and I think Justice, and one of them was in a store an hour away from me. So it wasn't like it was concentrated in just one area, it was all over the US, which is really scary. It's just crazy to think. And oh my gosh, like I was even thinking too, like people buying makeup at like the Dollar Tree or like you don't know what is in that makeup. And I don't know if you guys remember years back, but, and I don't think it's so much anymore, but they were finding lead in lipstick. I mean, lipstick you're putting on your lips that contains lead. It's just absolutely crazy to me. So I'm fortunate where I have the custom blend system where I know exactly what's in it. It's all minerals and botanicals. It's great for the skin. It's doesn't contain any funky ingredients and things like that. People will ask me, is it organic? Is it natural? Is it this? You can look at all the ingredients and see what's in there. And watch my videos about organic and natural, because that'll make a lot more sense when it comes to that. It like means absolutely, well, it means different things to different people, I guess is what it comes down to. But just know what you're putting on yourself. And while I'm talking about this too, ladies, be really careful about the deodorant you're using. I actually will post in my VIP group a deodorant that is really effective, but it's also aluminum free. And because I actually have a friend that is a naturopath, and she's like, oh my gosh, this one works. Because I don't know if you guys have ever used them where they don't work at all. And that's frustrating, because you're like, I want to use something a little bit more natural, but then it's not effective and it doesn't work. So so yeah, I'll post that in my group for everybody, a link to it, so you can get it there. But just please share this video out. Let's get that information out to everybody, and I will write up this article. I always like to have it in writing as well on my blog, leerader.com. And if you guys haven't been to my blog lately, I have been spending the last few weeks totally revamping it and upgrading everything, and so it's a little bit easier to read. It's a little bit more user-friendly. And so thank you so much for joining me. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know, you know, if you have any information about this subject. I'm always willing to learn. I think that that's important in this industry. And have a great rest of your week, guys. Bye.